Those of us with panic disorder can experience 4 different symptom groups at the same time. People with the other anxiety disorders can experience 3 different symptom groups happening at the same time. Now, it's very important that we learn exactly where they're all coming from so we can learn to turn them off. And as I start to talk about the symptoms, it's very important that you all know that you have an anxiety disorder, that you have been to the doctor, and that you know your symptoms are anxiety. If you haven't gone to a doctor, if you haven't had it checked out, then it is very important you do that first thing Monday morning, because as I said to you earlier, our symptoms can mimic a number of physical illnesses, and so you do need to have those ruled out. Now, it doesn't matter which anxiety disorder we have, whether it's panic disorder, social anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, post-traumatic stress disorder, or generalised anxiety disorder, our main symptoms are coming from the fight and flight response. Now, you pick up any book on anxiety and they'll be talking about the fight and flight response. Now, the fight and flight response is a natural response in humans and in animals in times of danger. In times of danger, the body releases hormones into the blood, adrenaline being one of them, which I can never say that word, adrenaline. Oh, you watch me trip up now for the next 2 days. I shouldn't have said that. It releases hormones, including adrenaline, through our body to prepare us either to stay and fight the dangerous situation or to run away from it. Now, as the fight and flight response is moving through our body, it shuts down our non-essential organs to give us more energy to fight the dangerous situation or to run away from it. So it shuts down the bladder, it shuts down the bowel, and it shuts down the stomach. And sometimes, you know, you may get an attack of diarrhoea, you may feel an urgent need to urinate, or you may throw up as a result. It's just the body's natural way of getting you ready to defend yourself from a life-threatening event, a dangerous event. As it moves through the body, our heart rate can double. We may begin to breathe very, very fast. We will begin to perspire. Our muscles will tense, all getting us ready to stay and fight the dangerous situation or to run away from it. The problem is we're not in a life-threatening situation. It's the way that we're thinking that is turning on the fight and flight response. It doesn't matter what disorder we have, when we're saying to ourselves, what if, what if, what if, the body doesn't know the difference between, you know, what if I have a panic attack or what if I make a fool of myself. The body doesn't know the difference between that thought and, oh, good grief, here comes a Mack truck that's lost his brakes coming down the freeway and it's coming straight for me. The body can't tell the difference. The body doesn't know there's a semi-trailer coming at you, doesn't know there's not a semi-trailer coming at you out of control. And so the body is doing what it's designed to do. It's preparing you to stay and fight the danger or to get out of there real quick. And so we are creating the danger in our mind, which is turning on the fight and flight response, which is coming out in our symptoms. And so no matter which disorder we have, we need to learn to turn the fight and flight response off. And that's what recovery is all about. And so the first set of the big symptoms for everybody, usually right across all the disorders, is the heart symptoms. You know, our heart can be racing. We may have palpitations. Some people will have what they call missed heartbeats. And our heart doesn't actually miss a beat. It takes a double beat and then pauses to regulate itself. But we think our heart's missing a beat, and that terrifies us more, thinking, oh, my heart's going to stop, my heart's going to stop. And all that's doing is just pushing more adrenaline through our system. And so for those of you, and we make it 10, for those of us that worry about the heart symptoms, we make it 10 times worse for ourselves because we're taking our pulse continually. And we've learnt to take our pulse, and nobody knows that we're doing it. We just sort of sit there, oh, it's 130 beats a minute. Or we're sitting at work, and I used to do this one. But the minute we think to ourselves, you know, what's my pulse? The second we have that thought, here comes the semi-trailer again. Oh, doesn't this thing ever stop? And the fight and flight response is turned on again. Because we are scaring ourselves just by that thought. I mean, we can think, well, what's my pulse rate? Or what's my pulse rate? And so the body, up comes the fight and flight response. So if you do worry about your heart symptoms, if you are taking your pulse, you're going to need to learn to stop. Because you're just making it 10 times worse. We had a nurse a few years ago that was so worried about her missed heartbeats. She was an intensive care nurse. She had 3 cardiologists. They all said to her, there is nothing wrong with your heart. She'd get to work and hook herself up to the machines. And she went on like this for months and months and months, into years, thinking that her cardiologist had made a mistake. There was definitely something wrong with her heart. And the more she worried about it, the more it kept happening. But the minute she can stop worrying about it, the fight and flight response is not turned on. Sorry, did you have a question? No? No? Okay. And so if you're worrying about your heart symptoms, you're really going to need to work on your thinking and turn off the fight and flight response so your heart rate will come back to normal. What compounds the problem for a lot of us, especially with panic disorder, we'll also have chest pain. We'll also have left arm pain. And we'll also have jaw pain. And we know what those symptoms are, don't we? I mean, they can be a sign of a heart attack. And this time last year, the Health Commission sent me an email saying St John's are going to be doing a campaign on, heart attacks. And we've just mailed all the accident and emergency departments to let them know when all their panic disorder people come in to send them to you. We do get chest pain, we do get left arm pain, and we can get jaw pain. But it's a result of we're so tense. As the fight and flight response moves through our body, our muscles do tense up to help us, run or stay and fight the threat. But we also keep ourselves tense all day, walking around, gosh, I've got to be on guard, I've just got to make sure, I've got to just make sure it's not going to happen. And the way that we fight our anxiety, the way that we fight our panic. I just feel it now. If you look and just feel, you can feel that. You can feel the tenseness across your chest and into your arm and into your jaw. And we're walking around like this all day. Is it any wonder we've got chest pain? Is it any wonder we've got arm pain? Any wonder we've got jaw pain? And so again, we need to learn to turn off our thinking and learn to relax into our experience, which I'll be teaching you how to do that tomorrow. Again, what compounded, and for all of us, is our breathing. Now, this was my big fear. Our breathing can become very, very fast and very, very shallow. And from that, we may go on to hyperventilate. In the past, that was one of the theories of anxiety disorders. It was caused through hyperventilation. Thankfully, that theory was thrown out in the late 80s. We do hyperventilate, but our hyperventilation is not the cause. When we're breathing fast, and we need to breathe fast to get the body ready to get out of the way of the semi-trailer, the pH levels between our oxygen and carbon dioxide level may become disrupted. And we may be breathing out too much carbon dioxide. I mean, it's not dangerous, but when we hyperventilate, we may feel it as pins and needles around our mouth and in our hands and in our feet. And we may feel a bit lightheaded, a bit as though we're going to feel faint. I mean, it's very, very rare for people to faint with any of the anxiety disorders. It's very rare. I think out of I've worked with about 50,000 people now in 15 years, and I think I've met about 25, 30 people that have actually fainted. But if you do faint, or if you feel yourself, sagging down onto the floor, the reason why that's happening is that you are so frightened and so scared that your body wants to fix the hyperventilation. You're not doing anything about it, you're just panicking too much. So your body just throws you onto the floor, just get out of the way, so the body can adjust the breathing itself. And it's actually very, very easy to fix your breathing if you are hyperventilating. This one really gets me though. Your doctors and your therapists will probably tell you, yes, you're hyperventilating and you need to breathe into a paper bag. And what they want you to do is breathe into the paper bag. You breathe, so you breathe out the carbon dioxide and then you breathe it straight back in again. You breathe that breath that you've exhaled, you breathe it back in again, and that helps just settle the pH levels down. But if you really think about this, whether we've got social anxiety or one of the other disorders, who wants to go around breathing into a paper bag? You're sitting at work or in the shopping centre or, do you know what I mean, walking the street, oh, excuse me. I mean, I don't really think that one out, I don't think. But you can fix the hyperventilation simply by cupping your hands over your mouth and your nose and breathing out and then just breathing that breath back in again. Or for some people, just even holding your breath for 10 seconds can help settle that down again. You know, hyperventilation is not dangerous. So we've spoken about the fight and flight response and the racing heart, which in turn tenses our muscles, and which can also we can also hyperventilate as a result of the fight and flight response. A lot of us, with our breathing, will breathe through our mouth, and this is what I did continually. Breathing through my mouth, and the air would go, part of the air would go into my stomach would swell up like a balloon, which would press on the diaphragm, which would make it very, very difficult for me to breathe. And I went for 4.5 years thinking that I had to, every waking moment, I had to manually breathe. And that was very exhausting. I was like, making sure I was breathing. It was very tiring, as well as swallowing a lot of air. Now, if you do mouth breathe, if you are getting that, if your stomach is swelling up through too much air, which that was the case now, you can get rid of that very, very easily. Just go, and I'm not funded to say this, but just go to the shop and buy a bottle of Schweppes soda water and drink the soda water, and you'll just burp all that air up, and it's such a relief. Phew, it's such a relief. But stay with the soda water, because I know for me during my recovery I drank gallons and gallons and gallons of it, and it's far better to drink soda water than Coke or, you know, whatever, or Pepsi or whatever. And it was really funny. A couple of years ago I was talking about, you know, Schweppes soda water is the best, and one of the workshop participants said, oh, well, I work for Schweppes. And it is, apparently their carbonation process is different from the other manufacturers. So, but that really does help, and it does enable you to breathe, to help you breathe again, or to help you just breathe more easily again. So you don't have to pay for any more Schweppes? No, I don't. No, no. But it does work. It does work. Has anyone got any questions before I go on? Okay. We can feel extreme nausea, and again, this was one of my constant symptoms. In fact, it was one of my first symptoms, and it was the last one to go. The nausea is coming as a result of the fight and flight response just being turned on the whole time. Now, the problem is, if we're nauseous, a lot of us won't eat. And if we're not eating, well, we all know the effects of not eating. We feel physically weak. We do feel very shaky and trembly, and we do feel lightheaded, and we do feel dizzy, and we do feel like we're going to faint. But we forget that, okay, you know, we might not have eaten, we might have had a banana all day, or, you know, a handful of nuts, and we forget that when we don't eat, we're going to feel those physical effects. We feel the physical effects of not eating, think they're anxiety symptoms, and throw that into the mix and worry about those symptoms. So it is very, very important that you do pay attention to your diet. If you're not eating, then you do need to talk to your doctor, or go to the community health centre, or go to speak with a dietitian or your local public hospital, and have a diet worked out. You may have, say, six small, high-protein meals a day. You need to keep your energy levels up, and you need to be very, very aware that if you're worrying about the symptoms of not eating, you're just going to be making your anxiety 10 times worse. So, so pay attention to that, and you might want to speak to your doctor and just perhaps go on to an anti-nausea drug until you can get your anxiety under control. So nausea can be a big symptom for a lot of people.